Probably have to be when I was 12 and I came here for my first ever event at Bathurst. Come up with some family friends from go-karting, and yeah, I remember being a kid running in the back of the mound here on the front straight, and jumping on the jumping castle and then running back to the fence to watch qualifying and top 10 shootouts, and hearing the V8s roar past me, it was quite a cool moment for a 12-year-old. No, not at all. I guess, when you're 12, you've got heaps of ambitions to do a lot of things, but no, I never thought I'd be, lucky enough to drive a race car around here, and other than that, a V8 supercar. It was very daunting. I remember the first time I came here in a development series V8 supercar, and I was racing Formula Ford that year. So first of all in a supercar, and then to debut here I was pretty nervous and a bit scared for the first time, even going up Mountain Straight at full speed and feel the car get quite light before you even get into the technical stuff was a really mind-blowing experience. So yeah, just like I said, absolutely stoked to be able to race around here year after year. But that first drive around here really it makes you feel like you got a lot to learn. Bathurst is, you got to be great on that one day. It's so hard, so much pressure, so much work for the crew. The car around here for 1,000 kilometres, it's the hardest race of the year on the car and the crew. So it's everything's got to go right. And generally, as I always say, there's 99 things will go wrong, one thing will go right. So it's it's a hard day here to try and win, other than try and put a championship together. I think it's just it's a culture. It's no different than, say, families that look forward to spending Easter holidays camping or barracking for their football team. I guess this is our holy grail of motorsport here in Australia, and all the people that come here, it's kind of like their holiday of a week. So this year is a bit unique for us with obviously the COVID stuff going on. It's a little bit dead than what we're used to, but obviously when we put our helmets on, the race is still as cutthroat as ever. But for us, we're obviously feeling a little bit dull this year because it's no greater feeling when you roll in over the hill coming into the track, see the big Mount Panorama sign, and just to see campers and people here to really enjoy the week. It's something you don't really experience anywhere else around the world. Oh yeah, look, for me, 2015 really broke my heart. I had a super fast car all year, and obviously crashed out in qualifying and broke my leg, and also injured some marshals along the way as well. So yeah, that for me, is something that will stick with me forever. So not ideal. Not so much stressful. It's probably more anxious. This week you go through trying to make the car as fast as you can with your co-driver, and you're such a great combination in a team. So you're hoping they have all the luck out there during their stints in the race. And then that obviously can reflect to the luck for the team, and hopefully aim for a good result. But when you're out there, you've done every practice session lead up to the race with your co-driver. You've got full faith in they're going to give their best shot and their best job in their ability, and you're just hoping they can get some luck along the way, because this mountain, as much as it is easy to have a fast car and fast drivers, you do need some of that luck. I think guys that are co-drivers here and come year after year, they're obviously they're good enough to be main series drivers. The field in probably co-drivers in the last 10 years have really stepped up with having two main drivers. So when we look for a co-driver, it's about who can be as fast as the main driver and do a solid job year in, year out. And for us, I'm obviously lucky enough to have Luffy this year as my co-driver. He's done a lot of laps around here. He's been solid at tracks like here, Gold Coast and Sandown in the past, so I'm super excited to be teaming up with him this year and give it a red hot crack for WAU. Not really, because I've been lucky enough to win it once here, and haven't been lucky enough to stand on the podium again. So whatever rituals I have obviously aren't working, so throw it all out the bag. Oh, unbelievable, greatest day in my whole racing career. So yeah, stand up there, see your people, just cheering. Doesn't matter if they're red or blue, Ford or Holden. It was obviously a great race in 2014, and just to be standing up there and trying to sink in that couple of minutes on the podium is just it's not long enough. It all feels like a couple of seconds. You wish it could last a lifetime. It's been a fair bit of luck. It's like we're always on the threshold in the dry or in the wet weather. So for us, it's yeah, a fair bit of luck. You hope you have a good car as well. Sometimes we become a passenger in a supercar, so yeah, you're just hoping that the car's handling well in those wet conditions, and you just try to find your lines around here and just hopefully have a pacey car that's easy to drive and not try to spear you off. Yeah, it is a lot, from the drivers to the guys in the team, and the way we prep the cars is something about this place that, even though, you know, every round you're trying to put your best foot forward, you know, like I said, car prep and stuff like that. When you come here, you know, you find another 10% in those areas, and same with the drivers in their enthusiasm and their passion and their drive to get the perfect lap around here, or put together the most perfect race. We all try and lift to that extra level that you didn't even think that there was. Yep, there's obviously the Legends dinner, so you're all legends. Shame we're not going to see you. Not all of you is probably here at the race on the weekend, but stay strong in this time. Hopefully we put a good race to you guys on Sunday, and yeah, have a couple of beers tonight, or waters or soft drinks or whatever you're drinking, and just enjoy your time.
Probably Brock's last victory in '87. I was probably only 5 years of age. I've got a very vivid memory of the DJR Sierras, which came in about '88, and you know, I wasn't quite around for the Tirana days and you know, the Falcon days with Moffat and Bond, but yeah, certainly the late '80s of the Sierras, and into the early '90s of the big bangers that came in, and Jimmy Richards in '92, that rained out race, controversial red flag, and that magical podium moment. I think those things all stand out as a young kid. Believe it or not, even with, you know, my family's history and my grandfather Lex, you know, winning the Australian Grand Prix here back in the late 50s, you know, I was at so many events in Australia, Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide when my dad was racing, but my dad actually never raced here, believe it or not, and he made his debut here as a 60-odd-year-old 2 years ago in the historic Formula Fords. So no, I never came here until the year 1998. Was actually my brother Alex's first ever race here in Formula Ford, and yeah, it hit me. You know, I thought I'd seen it all as a young kid, been to a lot of racetracks, but the first time seeing the Mount Panorama sign and you know, seeing the circuit for the first time after thousands and thousands of laps in front of the telly studying it was amazing. And then my first race here in the year 2000 in a Formula Ford, I'll certainly never forget that first lap heading up Mountain Straight. Unreal. You know, I was just a young 17-year-old, and was having a great year in Formula Ford, and it was treacherous conditions. I'll never forget the year 2000, pitting out the back and having to get through you know, this massive mud car park in the car to get to the circuit. But we got out, and yeah, I've got the image in my mind now, just heading up Mountain Straight, having that track to yourself for that first time. I was just so excited. I mean, I was so pumped up as a kid in a race car, and around this track, words can't describe it. It's full on. It just gets all your senses going, and been coming here for many years now, and certainly been you know, in the rain at pressure cooker moments. You know, I remember being on pole in 2009 with Garth Tander when we won the race, and my first year at the Holden Racing team, a lot of pressure on us to win, and getting off, you know, getting the keys to the start. Really wet conditions was incredibly nerve-wracking, but that's what it's all about, is to win this race you got to be thrown into the most pressure cooker situations. And yeah, I mean, you respect the place. I mean, you've got to take risks, you've got to search for the grip, and you know, the smallest mistakes, you know, in the wet here, and you're in the wall so fast. So it's an exciting place, and you just got to respect it, but that's where you earn your keep. I'll tell you at the end of this weekend, but you know, I haven't been a co-driver for many years here, and just me being me, you know, I'd certainly feel that responsibility of doing my part for Cam and Car 6. You know, I've been the lead guy here for many years, and yeah, I don't feel like I've got to be a hero or anything. I know what's required for my role this weekend, and you know, it's certainly to just make his life as easy as possible and work with him. And yeah, I'm nervous having the keys to someone else's car. Yeah, I'll do my best to obviously be fast and safe, but also look after it. And that's the beauty of Bathurst. Trying to do all those three things is a pretty tough compromise. It's a whirlwind. My first ever supercar podium here was 2007 with Steve Johnson in the 17 Dick Johnson racing car, and yeah, we were third, but it was a pressure cooker finish in 2007. If everyone remembers, it was wet, and you know, we led with only a few laps to go, and it was an amazing feeling. You know, just the emotions and the anticipation. You know, to get across the line was full on, and to then see the crowd for the first time. You're third, you're so happy, and you just look up to that top step and you just dream of doing that one time. And yeah, to then all of a sudden be there in 2009 with HRT and Garth. He sort of said, you know, this will change your life forever, just to soak it in. But no matter what he said, I remember it was all over too quick, and I was just in this blur, this sea of people. And then the second time around in 2016, I really forced myself to soak in every second up there, because you don't know if you'll ever get that chance again. And it's a magical moment. You know, it's a crazy race. You know, lots got to go your way to win it. So you've just got to soak it in, and it's really, you know, all the years of, you know, hard work, and it's an amazing job what we have, but it's like the culmination of everything. You know, it's what we do the sport for is that moment. And yeah, it's a cool moment that I'm really fortunate to have achieved. Oh, he's proud, isn't he? Proud dad, for sure. Yeah, it's both times he's been under the podium there, and I think he's probably had tears in his eyes before me. And Dad's, yeah, certainly driven every lap of my career with us boys, my brother and I, Alex, from, you know, day one, taking us to a go-kart track, and all those years pushing us around and picking us out of gravel traps, and you know, all the sacrifices he made for us to go racing in those early days. And yeah, still to this day. Yeah, as I said, he rides every session with us, and you know, and that's really special that as a family we still share that common bond. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yep. Hey, he just had fun, but every night he was sending us back onboard vision, and you know, certainly, you know, watching laps, and we were sending him onboard vision, although in different cars. Yeah, sharing stories, and it's great at this age that, you know, he was a very successful racing driver in his own right in the you know, 80s and very early 90s, and he effectively stopped racing for my brother and I to pursue a career. So you know, 25 years later, he effectively got his butt back in a race car the last 5 years, and he's still competitive. He does have us worried sometimes. He goes hard, but he's loving it, and we just love seeing that smile on his face. My grandfather lost his life racing in 1965, so I never met Lex. My dad was only 11. So that sort of shaped the way that the family, you know, progressed. And you know, Dad raced, and his brother Chris, and his brother John, and then my grandma remarrying Tony Gaze, who was Australia's first Formula One driver as well. So, you know, I have spent most of my life having Di, my grandmother, and Tony around, and certainly that's really special. And having them there with us at many Grand Prix at Albert Park, or a lot of our races over the years, was, yeah, obviously very, very special for them to see us succeed in some way, shape or form is really special. And you know, the family absolutely loves it to this day. They're on board for every race with us. It's a holy grail for so many families, and they don't know about a lot of other races, but they know about Bathurst, and that's our sport as well as a whole. You know, a lot of people don't follow motorsport, but they follow Bathurst, and it's very cool that families carry the tradition, and whether it's a blue flag or a red flag, it's very simple-minded, but they bleed red or they bleed blue, and it's cool that that's still a talking point in family homes, and we've got to keep that going into the future. Times are changing, but I think it's still a very healthy part for motorsport, and I think motorsport in Australia in particular has grown from that tribal rivalry, and Bathurst, I think, is the heart and soul of motorsport in general. Be having a great night, so we're not there, but it's exciting to be here in a very strange way, seeing the seats, the way they're set up. It certainly feels a little empty here, but it's amazing that the event's on. The circuit looks literally magical. Walked around this morning and I took it all in. Like it's an amazing place, and I think the race is going to be spectacular. I'm already nervous right here, right now, because there's so many contenders and so many strong driver lineups that are going for glory. And what's been a tough year, so this is the last race of the year, and you can see everyone's going all in like a game of poker. Everyone wants this trophy more than ever. I know I do. I've been dealt a bit of a tough blow this year with my team pulling out after Albert Park this year. So yeah, we're all pumped, and I think the race is going to be insane on Sunday. So enjoy it. I know a lot of people wish they were here and they can't be, but just watch it on the telly, and look forward to seeing all the fans back here next year. So yeah, thanks for all the support. Cheers.
My earliest memories of Bathurst, I suppose, would have been as a kid. I had like little Peter Brock cars that I used to play with, and used to joke around about who Peter Brock was and that, and that's kind of when I figured out what he was, and I was only probably 3 or 4 at the time. And then my next earliest memory would have been in 1991 or 2, and my dad stayed up all night and watched the 24-hour of Bathurst when the Mazda RX-7 won. When I was younger, I obviously wanted to be, your ambitions are very big, so you want to be a Formula 1 driver, and then you start on the path to be a Formula 1 driver, and then realise the expectation and the cost is astronomical. So then you start focusing on something more realistic, and supercars was the next best option for me. So, and ever since I've been involved in this sport, those ambitions of being an F1 driver have disappeared, and they're a distant memory now. So my very first year as a driver was in 2005, it was in Carrera Cup, and I think it was the first time I was probably over 160 Ks ever in any circumstance, and we honking down Conrod Straight, and I plucked 6th gear and got over like 280 Ks or something, and I realised like this is fast for me. This is, all the walls start moving in really fast, and yeah, it was a surreal experience. Well, I think what Bathurst brings to everyone, it's very, very special. It's a special piece of road. It's got a lot of history. It's the longest race of the year. It's the one we always want to win. We talk about it the most. It's got everything that we love about sport rolled into this massive complex, and the style of race it is, and just the rivalry between the teams and all the drivers is it comes to the forefront of everyone's mind at this track. Yeah, so obviously I've been lucky to stand on the podium twice, and once was second, once was when we won it in 17, and it was probably the best moment in your life. Like, you got just no idea how much that means to you, and then I always say you kind of don't realise how much it means to yourself until you win the race, and then how much it means to everyone else, this race. You find that out afterwards. It's a weird experience. So yeah, and then when you stand on the podium and you look down at everyone, your whole team, and just the smile and joy in their face is second to none. So yeah, that's the coolest moment ever. My favourite moment, I got a couple myself. Obviously when we won in 17. Chaz's crash in 15, that was massive. I wasn't say my favourite, but it's a moment. And Greg Murphy's lap of the gods. When it all goes wrong at Bathurst, it's one of the most painful experiences you could ever experience. Like 2018 for me was very, very painful experience, because our car was so fast. We qualified on pole. We basically led every lap until I expired in the car and couldn't drive it anymore. So you know, for us, that race was ours to lose, and unfortunately lost it. But at the time, you know, no one was touching our car speed. It was second to none in the field. We were streaks above everyone else, and yeah, it come down to I just couldn't finish. Yeah, 1,000 k's is a long way, but obviously you have a co-driver to sort of help you out and break up the stints. But I think the week itself is generally the most challenging because, you know, the demand of all the media, the people, it's just massive compared to all the other races we do. So, you know, the amount of load on yourself and all the extra pressure and energy that gets exerted from you by doing media appearances, sponsor stuff, and then you've got to drive the track itself. So then when you drive the track, you've got to be 100% focused at all times, because any small mistake, you know, you pay the big penalty for it because you're in the fence, your car's buggered and your weekend's ruined. So the whole week is just excruciating. Every year you roll out of pit lane, you've got to pay some sort of respect to the mountain, because it can bite hard, especially on the early laps, because the track's, you know, hasn't got a lot of grip into it. You're cold, you know, you're probably not really up to speed yet. Your brain speed's not up there, so, you know, you've got to pay a bit of respect and not go too hard. You know, we always talk about the mountain has its own personality and its own character, and come race day, it generally chooses who it wants to win. Like, it's kind of left up into the hands of the Mount Panorama gods, and obviously they chose us once and they fought against us the other year. So you know, you're kind of just racing around and hoping something bad doesn't happen, and then literally you got to buy a ticket to the last 30 or 40 laps of the race, and that's when the real race starts to win it. So yeah, Will Brown, he's like my little son. He is just the coolest, one of the coolest people I've ever come across. He's a used car salesman from Toowoomba. He's got a lot of personality, big smile all the time, and just, yeah, I love being around him. And he's talented too. I forgot to say that.
Is it
always forget that bit. Yeah, well, a lot of people get nervous when the co-driver takes over, but not me. I'm kind of like, whatever happens, happens. You know, you always have a co-driver that you can trust and you get along with, and if I've done my job, it makes his job much, much easier to do. So, you know, we work really closely together in practice to make the car as best we can for each other and easy to drive. That's a very, very difficult part to manage when the track's half wet, half dry, because it can be wet up the top and dry down the bottom, and we're driving around saying it's raining, and then the engineer would come on the radio and say, no, it's dry down here. I'm like, oh, I'm driving the car. So what you kind of do is you just got to adapt to the moment, be rational throughout every situation, and make clear, calm decisions, not get too involved into the emotion of the race, and yeah, just take every lap, every corner as it comes, and yeah. Hey everyone listening at the dinner, thanks for coming along and being part of the experience, and I hope I didn't bore you too much.